only is it Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, like we're still in this space where we're like really, I mean, at least I am like really grateful to have sports.
Yeah, no, I feel that too.
Like it's college basketball, I'm watching NBA, like anything it's on. I'm like,
yeah,
I'll never forget.
Yeah,
those 5 months.
He was 5-1 in his 6 career playoff games, 15 years in the league, and has a Super Bowl trophy. Trent Dilfer now joining us live. Listen, I watched Drew Brees yesterday, and I said, that's how you age. If you don't eat avocado ice cream 9 times a day like Brady, you look like Breeze. You look like the ball on the outs doesn't quite get there. You had a last game or two. Like I looked at Drew and I thought, it's time. It kind of feels like it's time. Did you see that?
Well, I think all year long we've kind of noticed that. And a lot of it's reflected in Sean Payton's play calling. That was an offense that kind of felt like they were stuck in a hotel bedroom bed where the sheets are tied down underneath the bed and you kind of feel all tight in there until you bust out the sheets. Yeah. That's kind of what the offense looked like. Nothing was spread out, nothing was fluid, nothing was vertical, and everything they were doing is kind of playing in this tight little box. And Tampa had a lot to do with that, how they played defense, but it just seemed like he didn't have a lot of confidence in calling kind of a wide open offense and getting all his playmakers involved. So, yeah, I think it's time. And it's not a knock on Drew Brees, one of the greatest that's ever put on cleats at any position. To get this team this far at this age, I think is quite the accomplishment. But, yeah, yesterday with all the eyeballs watching it, with a defense that said, hey, we're not scared of you. We're going to make you play in this hotel bed with those sheets tied on you. You could really see how his skills have diminished over the years.
I was kind of blown away by Brady. Antonio Brown hurt, Mike Evans minimized. I didn't think Chris Godwin was all buttoned up. Gronk was not terribly effective. I honestly, it wasn't a weapons thing. Many would believe he had the second best coach going into that game. I was kind of blown away by his resourcefulness yesterday. Your thoughts?
That's a good word. I'd use patience too, wisdom, discernment. All the things that aren't real glamorous parts about playing the position. I can't think of a ball he forced. When he missed away from the defense. You think of those couple throws down the sideline or corner shots to Gronkowski.
Yeah.
He misses away. He misses low in the middle of the field when Godwin runs the bad crossing route. Like his misses were really good. He wasn't forcing the issue. He played the long game. He never panicked. And obviously, he got some great help from a defense that played phenomenal and got the ball back for him. But, there was never, and I think Chris mentioned it during the game, don't expect Tom Brady to force the issue and try to make more of it than there is. Like, he's going to take what the defense gave him. And I thought he was, what were they, 1 for 5 on vertical attempts?
Yeah.
But again, the misses were educated misses. So he played like a champion in a tough game. I would say this, he's the master of knowing what the game calls for, right? We say framing the game. Every game has its own frame. It's its own picture. It's different. And he can adjust to that early in the game and not play outside of the temperament of the game. And that's what he did last night.
I think Mahomes, I woke up this morning and I thought, Kansas City won. Mahomes didn't play for the last quarter, and you've played on a bad foot. He couldn't push off. And I'm like, I thought he was going to come out a little rusty. His first 6-7 drives, touchdown, field goal, missed field goal, touchdown. I thought Mahomes, maybe he didn't have the dazzlers, but I was kind of a little blown away by him. I thought he was incredibly effective bouncing around on a bad foot.
I did too. And it goes back to what we said a couple weeks ago, I think. Like, their floor is so much higher than everybody else's. They don't have to play great. They don't even have to play great in a series. Like, you'll see them score in a series where they'll have 2, 3, 4 stinker plays, but they can overcome them. Like, they're so explosive. They're so diverse in what they do offensively. They have so many ways of coming at you that they can kind of sputter around and lollygag around and mess up, and then boom, they get 14 yards. Oh, they get 18. Oh, -3, +1, +12. And it doesn't even look right. But their floor is just so much higher than everybody else's. It's almost an unfair fight. I thought the Browns were impressive, earned my respect. I know they're in your respect. They played hard. They did a lot of good things, and they never really had a chance. People talk about the brilliant 4th down call. Who's to say the Browns are going to score if they punt there?
Yeah.
It's like, we're assuming the Browns are going to go on this miraculous drive when they hadn't done anything the 2 previous drives and score. Kansas City, they don't even have to play well, and they still beat good teams.
Yeah, not only not play well, but have their star quarterback out for a quarter and a half. You know, Andy Reid, I thought he had a lot of guts. A lot of guys would go to their backup, and they would just run the ball. And it was like, listen, there were a couple times they was throwing. I mean, Tony Romo was a riot. Tony's like, look at the body language. They're not running a play here. And they did it. Tony was like aghast like the rest of us were. The Henny call, I was like, that takes a lot of guts, Trent. That most coaches won't do that.
I think this is where Andy Reid, his staff, you got to give his whole staff a lot of credit because I know he delegates a lot to Bieniemy and the other offensive coaches on that staff. I think they beat people Monday through Saturday. I remember as a player, I now know as a coach how hard it is to prepare, how many rabbit holes you can go down, how much extra thinking you can do to give your team an advantage on game day. And they do all of that better than anybody else. The fact that they're going to run sprint right option in the most critical moment, it's probably in bold letters and red outline on the call sheet. And they did it against Miami a few weeks ago. But this week, they're going to say, okay, if we're going to run this play, what's the most creative way we could run it in a must-have situation, game of the line situation? Oh, we can empty the backfield to get the man zone declaration, and then we can kind of get the offensive lineman to sit up a little bit higher and have bad body language by the 3 receivers. So it looks like we're going to triple count this and try to get him to jump. And then we'll notice the back when he comes back in from empty formation backfield, he's kind of lazy and standing up straight.
Yes.
But they plan this Monday through Saturday. So it's no surprise that on Sunday evening, when it has to work in the biggest moment of their season, they've gone through all the mental gymnastics. They've crossed every T, dotted every I on the whys and the hows of the play to create an advantage. And yes, they have a freak athlete. The number 3 receiver is going to run the jab step out, and they're going to protect it right. But it's all the thought that goes into it. Like I said, Monday through Saturday, that's where they're beating people.
Yeah, I thought it's a really good point. And that's what fooled Romo and it fooled me, which is they practice the body language. They literally look like they weren't doing it. And you're like, oh, it's a tell, like a poker player. That's a tell. And they went on the play. And Romo got fooled. I got fooled. I listened to Tony. I'm like, no, Tony's right. They're not running a play. Boom, they ran it. Now,
well,
go ahead.
I'll give you another example of teams that are good at this. Like I saw this a couple times over the last couple weekends. Everybody runs quarterback sneak in short yardage situations, right?
Yeah.
So what did the defense do? They get those two-eye techniques deep down. They reduce everybody. Those linebackers run up tight, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But now you're seeing teams shift, motion, look out, hand signal the receiver, like do all this window dressing just a quarterback sneak. So to create an intent different than what you're actually going to do to get 1 yard. To get 1 yard. That's the NFL, and that's where Andy Reid and the staff just do a better job than anybody else. When you need that 1 yard, what intent do you show the defense? And then what do you do outside of the intent?
You know, I think it's interesting. 71% of the plays for the Packers had motion. Mm-hmm. And I said, I watched that game, and I reflected back to Mike McCarthy, who runs a much more static offense. But I'm watching Green Bay. It's multiple sets. Everybody's in motion. They had all these offensive guys 2 years ago. They had all these pieces. It's almost like Lefleur came in, and they probably had some uncomfortable moments. He's like, no. We're gonna make your brain work overtime here. And I watched them, and they're hard to defend, Trent. There are guys, they're making corners, make snap decisions, fast motions. I don't know if there's a defense. They tore the Rams apart. I'm not sure how you stop Green Bay. How do you do it?
It's going to be tough. So much what they do is based off their action game under Lefleur. I think, number one, you got to stop the run. You can't let them run the football, because once they start running the football, and the whole entire menu is open for the Packers, and that menu is pretty robust with the shifts and motions and window dressing. And a lot of what they do is they're creating leverage with their motion. So you can't do a lot of that stuff if you're in the drop back pass mode. You almost want to reduce Green Bay back to what they once were. And that's 4 wide receivers, shotgun, quick passing game. And I know people are going, oh, you're crazy. That means Aaron's going to throw it more. But they're not nearly as effective when they're in the drop back pass mode. They are so dangerous in the action mode. They're so dangerous when they can condense those splits, get those receivers up on safeties and linebackers, and then activate them in the pass game in action. That's where they get their home run shots. They're so dangerous when they can change the launch point and get those receivers crossing from condensed splits. But if you stop their run game and you say, you know what, you're gonna have to throw it 55 times today, Aaron, I think you have a fighting chance. But you can't stop them if they're balanced.
You know, I love the Bills all year, but I will be honest about this. The last 2 weeks, I've seen a lot of flaws. They don't have a run game. I mean, it's non-existent. And then against the Colts, I'm like, they don't really have they don't have a pass rush if you have a decent offensive line. And here we are. They're in the AFC Championship in a field.
The NFL playoffs continue Sunday with the NFC Championship presented by TurboTax Live as Tom Brady and the Buccaneers take on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Pre-game coverage starts at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app.
Yeah, that's going to get a good TV rating. I'm going to go Kreskin here. I'm going to try to guess how that does. I'm going to guess that gets Super Bowls get 50s, right? That'll get a 30.
That's going to have some eyeballs, yeah.
If it's a competitive game and the weather's really dicey in the country and people are forced inside, that could get a 30.
Well, I just think we not only is it Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, like we're still in this space